Talk to me about doodling. So I never heard about this art form.
Growing up, I was one of these paint by the number artists as a child, where you just couldn't make any mistakes. So how this started for me is one day I had a doctor's appointment and I was kind of nervously waiting for some test results. So I was in the waiting room and I was sitting in my seat and I was getting pretty nervous and I was thumbing through magazines quicker than you could count to 10. And I noticed oh my goodness, if they were to take my blood pressure right now, it would be off the chart. I need to do something. So I got up out of my seat and I walked over to the nurse's desk and I asked her for a piece of paper and a pen. And I went back to my seat and I just started making aimless little squiggles. They didn't look like anything. They kind of looked like if you saw it laying on a table, you'd probably throw it away. But the more I got, absorbed in this little activity, I was recognizing that I was beginning to feel a little more calm. I wasn't focused on worrying about test results. I just kind of got lost in this quiet little world for a while. So after I saw the doctor and got home, I thought about this. And I thought, wow, I think there's something about this doodling that is important. I wasn't sure what it was, but the next day I went down to the art supply store and bought myself a spiral-bound blank little notebook, and I called it my doodle book. And wherever I was going to wait, whether it was at a hospital or at the car wash or, even for an airplane, I would take this book out and I would just get lost in this doodling, because if not, I realized that I could just start worrying about everything under the sun. All these what-if scenarios. Well, what if the test result comes back negative? What if the plane, gets canceled? And that's pretty much how it got started. I've never thrown away any of the doodles, and I've been doing this for 30 years almost.
How do you teach this art form to others? How do we learn how to do it? Do we need to be an artist?
Oh, absolutely not. I love going into the elementary schools with children and helping them tap into their own innate creativity. We all have it within us. I do teach this a little differently. I call it spiritual, sacred doodling. What seemed to really launch me on this journey of really becoming introspective and looking at what the doodles were teaching me, I gave myself one guideline, and I have no idea where it came from, but it came to me because I recognized that if we can just get out of that linear, logical world that is so hooked into imagining certain scenarios or the way things should be, and step into this spontaneous moment in time. If you were just to have the piece of paper in front of you right now with a pen in your hand, what you're going to do is, in only the time it takes maybe to breathe in and breathe out, a short amount of time, with your pen resting on the paper, you are going to make an outline beginning and ending at the same point without lifting your pen off the paper, and do it in a very short amount of time. Now, for those that are perfectionists, as I could be, don't worry about if the beginning and end don't come together exactly, but give it your best shot. So if you try to do that, just begin and end at the same point without lifting your pen off the paper and do it in a few seconds, what you're going to pretty much look at is a squiggle that doesn't look like anything. It looks like just an abstract squiggle. But then what I want you to do, and I will say this is pretty much sometimes how life can unfold. Sometimes you end up with something that makes no sense in your life. But now I would like to invite you to go back and fill in that doodle with whatever you like. You can choose it, hearts, lines, dots. There's no right or wrong. And have fun doing it. And what was so interesting for me is the more I got lost in this art form, the more peaceful and calm I was becoming, but the more beautiful the art was becoming as well. I mean, what I care more than anything about teaching this is this has nothing to do with wanting to show you how to create beautiful art. It isn't the end result that's important. It's about how you engage in the process. Can you show up in this creative, spontaneous moment in time, and just for the time you're doing this, put aside everything you're worrying about that is still on your plate for later on in the day or tomorrow, and let go of everything that you just left. Maybe the meeting that didn't go well, or the kids running crazy in the house. Just for now, push that aside and just actually get lost in this creative process.
Yeah, it sounds like magic to me.
Well, what was so fascinating for me to see when I would take this into the schools with children, and this was a first, second grade classroom, so the kids were like 7 and 8 years of age. I had no idea how to do this in color. I mean, I was so, as a recovering perfectionist now, but if you start with orange, what color goes next to it? What if I don't like it? And what if it doesn't look good? But these children had all those Astro Bright gel pens. And when I went around the room and looking at their doodles, what they were doing, I actually was so awestruck because they looked like stained glass. They were beautiful. So I came in as a teacher that day, and I actually left as a student. So these little ones taught me how to doodle. For the children, which is such a stressed out demographic in the world today, to give them an opportunity to just kind of be in a very peaceful, calm space for a moment and not worry about anything else, it just kind of allows them to regroup. And I always tell the teacher, you know, if you got a big test coming up, give the kids 10 minutes to doodle before you do the test. For people that are in professional people in meetings, before you start that brainstorming meeting, take 10, 15 minutes as a group and just get lost in this, in the doodling process. Get out of your left brain, linear logical mind, trying to figure out everything you want to accomplish in your meeting, and just get lost in the moment. You know, there's so many healing properties to art, and it really helps to connect the dots between the outer anxiety and stress and that inner world of calm. You know, as they say, you don't really need to know where you're going, you just need to know where you are.
I love that. Boy, I love that.
It's like letting go or giving your linear, logical left brain a rest. Give it a break for a while and just experience all that can come out of that creative aspect of who you are. Growing up as a paint-by-the-number artist, you know, you couldn't make a mistake. You just match up the number 2 pencil with the number 2 on the piece of paper. But when I stumbled into the world of doodling and spontaneous, in-the-moment art was coming out of me, it's like, well, where did that come from? And I was just shocked at creatively what came out of me. But I think I was also very shocked at inherent wisdom that we each have, that sometimes we get so wrapped up in our busy lives that we lose sight of all that we have within us that we can access.
So true.